I want to start from the beginning when you moved to the USA when you were 10 years old, right? What do you remember most about Vietnam?
I remember that my family. I grew up. I didn't have a lot, I would say, but I had enough for uh for like the basic needs that I needed, like shelters and food. But I know a lot of the people at home, in my hometown, they have way less. So I would say that I was it was it it wasn't as bad for me. But I remember I remember living with my mom, growing up with my mom at 5 years old to 10 years old, and my dad wasn't there because he was over here in the U.S.
Mhm.
He was working to send money back home because we didn't my family we didn't have enough like money, and so that he took that opportunity to go over here with my grandparents and my aunties and uncles to create a better future for my generation coming up. And I don't thinking back about it, I don't really remember as much because because I was like 5, so I don't really remember much except for
So, was it hard for you when you were leaving Vietnam? You know, you must have had friends, you know, even though you might be not live in the best conditions, you still when you're a kid, you don't really think about it as much, right? When you're
exactly.
you know, compared to when you're older. So, did you have a hard time like wanting to, leaving Vietnam to go to the United States, or were you just like, "Yes, I wanna go?"
I was actually like pretty excited to go because I wanted to go see my dad, and and we talk over the phones and stuff, and he explained a lot of good stuff like like the environment over here and how my future could be better, or like like stuff like that. But I was really excited to go over
Mhm.
here.
For sure. Like me, I have the same story as you. I moved to the United States when I was 4 or 5 years old and grew up in the States, but I was born in Korea. So I'm always interested to see like how people react to, being a young kid living in a country and then you have to leave everybody, all your friends, and you got to go to a new country where you don't know anybody. So how was adjusting to the people and to American culture for you?
Honestly, it was like everything was like brand new. Like I didn't know any English when I first came over, and I started in 5th grade with no English, and I had a really hard time making friends because of that, because I didn't know how to speak the language. I didn't know as much of the culture, but I remember, yeah, like it was really hard for me to adapt at first. But just moving through school as a kid, you're able to adapt a little bit faster than like older people
Mhm.
and like my parents.
Did you pick up the language quick? Because me, when I went to America, I had to do kindergarten twice because I couldn't speak the language. Like I wasn't able to pick it up as fast. How about you?
It was really hard for me at first because like it was brand new to me. Like
Mhm.
it was like a new language. And I remember going to class. I was doing good in math. I knew I knew that what they were trying to do in math without like I would listen to the teacher, but I would understand just a little bit. But
Mhm.
then I see like what they're trying to teach, and I'll solve the math problems and stuff. But science and English and stuff, history, I had a really hard time with that because I didn't really know as much of the language. But I remember going to like English class, and they would actually have another teacher pull me out of the classroom, and she would show me like flashcards, and she would like teach me how to speak, teach me how to pronounce the words, or like how to say a sentence. And then I feel like just going through school as a kid, I was able to adapt pretty quick, I would say.
For sure. And then at 10 years old, I saw that, or not 10, 14 years old, you started with martial arts. What did you start with?
So I started with just kickboxing. I walked into a UFC gym now. Like
Mhm.
now that I'm actually training at like a real MMA gym, a real martial art gym. Like I realized like that gym was just for like regular people, you know what I mean? And they were there to just like lose weight or like just learn like the basics. But I started with just I would say MMA overall because I did a little bit of everything, but I really fell in love with kickboxing and Muay Thai.
Mhm. How long after that did you end up going to the MMA lab?
It was actually a couple years later. It's like 4 or 5 years later. I actually before the MMA lab, I used to train over at Fight Ready MMA,
Mhm.
and because one of the coach at the UFC gym that I was at, he actually brought me over. He saw the potential that I had, and he thought that I could do something with this. So he kind of guided me under his wing. He brought me over to Fight Ready MMA, and I was training under their system for a couple years. I would say like 4 years, 5 years, and now I'm over at the MMA lab. I've been here for I'm pretty sure like 2.5 years or so.
Yeah, during your time at Fight Ready, I see that, I saw that you were working with Henry Cejudo a lot, and he has helped you. How important has he been for your career?
I would say that he's an inspirational to me because he like speaking with I got to hang out with him for like a weekend or like a whole week actually in Miami. He flew me out for a wrestling seminar that he had, and he would share stories of his childhood and how he grew up in a immigrant household, and it was like it was hard for him to like it was hard for him to just make friends and all of that, and he found like a martial arts like wrestling, and he just kind of fell in love with it, and I feel like I could relate to that, and yeah, I can see him where he's at now. It really motivated me, like because I know that like if he could do it, I could do it too.
When did you feel like you were ready to fight? You had, this great amateur career, but to take that first fight, how did you know you were ready?
Uh, so I didn't know I was ready, but I had my Muay Thai coach. He saw my potential, and he asked me if I wanted to do kickboxing smokers like back in the day, and it was like I think it was about almost a year into training, and that's when he asked me to do it, and I just pulled the trigger and did it. I just kind of trusted his intuition, and I took it, and it turned out great.
The hurdles of your amateur career.
Oh, so yeah, like the hurdles of an MMA fighter, like financial situation, like I'm always thinking like when I'm in camp or outside of camp, I'm thinking like what can I do to like, keep this career going? Because we're not getting paid as much to fight, and it takes money to just, just live. And my goal is I want to train full time as an MMA fighter, and so what I had to do was become an entrepreneur. Like right now I'm actually studying some stocks like option trading, and from a day to day I that's why I try to like that's how I try to make my money to keep everything together.
So, you made your pro debut earlier this year. How did you feel about the performance you had in that fight?
Um, well, I had a knockout in the first round of spinning back fist, so I feel pretty great. But I felt like I could have did better. I felt like I could have did better, be more composed, and pick my shots a little bit better. And yeah, I'm still new to the game. I'm still new to the MMA community, but I feel like I've trained with a lot of successful pro fighters, like experienced fighters too, and I feel like I'm ready. I'm ready for the next step. I'm ready to go into the UFC.
Did you know that the spinning shit was going to work?
Yeah. So that technique, I've landed it multiple times at the gym sparring, but I've never knocked anyone down with that. But I that was a move that I practiced in the gym, but I never drop anyone with that except for the one in the fight.
All right. And you return to the cage at LFA 135. Your opponent is Matthew Barrow. What do you think about him and his skill set?
I think he's a tough fighter. He's a lot older than me, so I think he's a lot stronger, I would say. And his skill set, I feel he still need work, but I feel like everyone could use a little bit more work on their technique, you know. But I feel like it's a good matchup. He's a great opponent for me, especially for my second fight.
What kind of performance do you want to have in your second fight?
What kind of performance? So my fighting style, I like to be flashy. I don't like leaving it up to the judges. I like to finish my fight first round if possible. But my mentality going into every fight is I'm gonna have a 15-minute war. You know what I mean? And I feel like I've been through a lot of adversity just in training, pushing through injuries. Like I know that I could last, and I know that I could take and absorb a lot of punches, and so I'm not. I know that I'm resilient, so I'm not scared of that.
All right. And you said earlier that your goal is to win UFC titles, right? And earlier this earlier this year in Singapore, they just had the tournaments for the Asian fighters, the Road to UFC, and it's a
Right.
huge opportunity for a lot of fighters, right? Especially from Asia to compete and get their chance to become UFC fighters. Do you see that as possibly a way of you getting into the UFC and getting more fans in Asia as well?
Um, I was actually thinking about that because I know they're gonna love me over there. But my first goal, my goal since the beginning was I wanted to get into the UFC and I want to win the UFC World Champion. And like that's been the goal since. But I'm always adaptable. I'm not too rigid to one goal. So we will see what the future holds.